Hello everyone. For our final session, I decided to make my poster into a web page, and here it is for all of you. My web page is about online teaching, and I put my philosophy right on the home page because it is what the online teaching is about to me. And I found two quotes that I thought were significant to my philosophy. Online teachers need strong communication skills, flexibility, adaptability, and out-of-the-box thinking. And that was from Rice on page 10. And Prensky stated on page 9 that our students as digital natives will continue to evolve and change so rapidly that we won't be able to keep up. And I thought those were both very significant to the idea of online teaching. So my philosophy I have listed here. I decided to start with the quote that Christine Crow said in the Learning Matters video. Good teaching is good teaching, whether it is online or whether it's brick and mortar in a school. I thought this would be the best way to start because this is what sparked our course discussion about online teaching, and it really got me thinking about the topic. And my philosophy on this quote even changed slightly, as I think I understand more what she was getting at with this, as in good teaching is still good teaching even if it's online or if it's in a classroom. Doesn't matter the setting. So to build on that, my philosophy is all students need educated, but not all learn the same way. For some, online learning is the best option, and online setting is different, but also similar to a brick and mortar setting. Students today are motivated by the use of technology, which is relevant in any setting. And appealing to this helps keep students interested and motivated. One of the biggest things I have taken away from this course is showing the need of motivation for our students. Online learning is a great tool to connect with some learners, meeting their needs and providing them with instruction. The flexibility allows for students who have busy schedules or who need extra support to receive it. It may not be for every student, but for those who choose, it can have lasting benefits. Online learning teaches students to collaborate, communicate, and prepares them for 21st century careers. So these ideas came mostly from Rice's text as well as from Archambault, because I do still strongly believe it's not for everyone. I don't think every student will benefit from online learning, but there are definitely some who do. So my role as an educator, connecting with students, sharing knowledge, and instilling a love of learning are all part of the typical expectations of my role. However, in a virtual classroom, engagement, learner-centeredness, collaboration, and relevance become more imperative to impact learners. I do think those things are necessary in a classroom setting, and I try to engage and collaborate constantly in my own classroom. However, it's even more essential online. My online classroom would revolve around all of these features. I am a guide, instructor, and monitor of their learning. The students are the ones driving their own education. I present them with content, but they must take responsibility for their own learning with online education, as Rice suggested throughout all of his texts, but especially on page 3. As the INACOL standards suggest, my role is to plan, develop, and model instruction, skills, and assessment. I can adjust the information and work with students on a more individualized basis as needed, which is, I think, a strong component of online learning. And then I added these quotes that I had found that I thought definitely applied to online education. If a child can't learn the way we teach, maybe we should teach the way they learn. So if that's online, then that's what it should be. The object of education is to prepare the young to educate themselves throughout their lives. And teaching is a work of art. The unit I would focus on if I could teach an online class. Originally, I had thought that doing a STEM course would be great. However, I feel that STEM course needs to be face-to-face and online. So I went with the unit of math, and especially fractions, because that's something my students are currently working and struggling with. It would be designed for 6th graders. We would study the fraction skills based on the Common Core standards. I would highlight topics like comparing fractions, placing them on a number line, multiplying and dividing them. And I would incorporate ways to make math and fractions relevant and more meaningful to students. That way it sticks into their memory and makes it more long-lasting. So the tools I would use, asynchronous, I would use these tools to develop their knowledge and experience and their interaction intensity, and those came from Dykers, Whiteside, and Lewis, and the social presence model. Most of my course would be asynchronous because I want the students to log in and understand the content at their pace when it is best for them. So I would use tools like threaded discussions, kind of like ours in class, that'll give them a more thoughtful response, higher level thinking. They can process the information more and at their own time. It doesn't have to be immediate. I would record lessons on YouTube through the Screencast-O-Matic or through Zoom. And I would use Google Suite for assignments that they could do at their own pace. And these ideas all came from Rice and the table that he presented. I think that was on page 110. The synchronous tools I would use would develop instructor involvement, community cohesion, and interaction intensity, because the students are more working together and we are interacting with one another, as well as they would participate at that synchronous time. I would plan on doing scheduled meetings, whether it's weekly or bi-weekly. It would depend on the need to present the new content. I would use Zoom as the tool to present the lesson. I would incorporate games like the website listed below. We can all log in together and play at the same time against one another. Show Me I would use to demonstrate practice problems for the class on the whiteboard. Since it's interactive, students could again build on that interaction intensity like the social presence model suggests. And I would definitely enable chat for the students so they can communicate with one another, building that community cohesion, but also that they can add their own knowledge and experience into it at times and interact even more with one another. However, I would monitor it and make sure it is relevant communication and turn it on and off as necessary. The collaborative tools I would use would develop almost every area of the social presence model. It would definitely touch on community cohesion, effective association, interaction intensity, and knowledge and experience. I am having them interact with one another in the collaborative tools. I would pair students with experience and those that are less experienced to build on their knowledge and experience together. It does develop that sense of community, and they're making that emotional connection between each other as they're working together that synchronous and asynchronous tools may not allow. So the tools I would use would be Mockstra, which was a tool I had examined, and it would be a great way to collaborate together and they can arrange group meetings with one another, and I can see who added what revisions to the documents, and they can either meet with me or as with partners. I would also use breakout sessions that we witnessed in some of the videos of online courses to connect with the students with one another and to guide and practice their own instruction. And I would use projects through a tool such as Google Docs that they can share with one another and work on together to complete the task, yet I can still observe what it is that each one of the students are doing. And again, these tips all came from Rice's texts. How to manage these tools? A lot of rubrics I feel would be best in these situations, especially for the collaborative assignments and projects. Rubrics are the best way, but however, I would allow for an area for them to assess each other and themselves on their own participation and effort, so that if someone is not giving their full effort into it, I would be aware of that if I don't always notice it in our synchronous online sessions. I would also use rubrics to assess discussion and input and their responses on our forums. Checklists would be used during our synchronous meetings, so I could mark for understanding and participation of students throughout the meeting times. There would be occasional tests and quizzes, again through most likely a Google Doc of some form, to assess their learning and understanding of content. However, I think projects would be the best for online learning and for making sure that it is more relevant to them. There would be self-reflection in discussions or added on after assignments so that they can determine their own understanding, because especially in online, they need to take responsibility for their own learning. I also like the idea of multimedia presentations where they can pretend to be the teacher and teach each other skills that we have learned. They could video that and upload it similar to ours that we've done with YouTube, and they could share it with one another. And hopefully hearing it from another student may help. So these ideas also came from Rice's text, especially on page 132 with the chart that he had listed. So finally, my questions and my ahas. My biggest ahas was online teaching is time consuming. When I first took the course, I figured online teaching is the easy way out and it's quick and you don't have to put a lot of time into it. And I couldn't be more wrong. There's a lot that goes in behind the scenes with online teaching as far as planning and arranging the content and assignments as well as grading. I also have decided one of my big ahas is it's more than just sitting behind a screen in your PJs. It's not easy. A lot of people assume online learning, oh, I can teach in my pajamas and stay at home and do a lot of nothing during the day. However, that's not it at all. Online teaching has a lot behind it, as I said previously. There's so much more to it than just those simple instructional videos that we see. There's a lot of thought behind every lesson and every assignment to get the most out of the learners. Another aha where there's so many tools available that can do incredible things. I did not realize the diversity of the tools that are out there and that are free, that allow for collaboration and the interactive whiteboards and the meetings for students to work together beyond just the simple tools that I use every day. There's so much more out there that I want to keep exploring. And my final and last aha is I truly don't feel like I am quite ready to be a fully online instructor. I love the interaction in a classroom setting. Online would definitely be different. It would be more challenging at first. I think it would be possible, but I don't see myself doing that yet. I still love being in the classroom, although online would be a great challenge for the future. And my questions. One of my questions was, how can I connect more strongly to my students online? It's one of the biggest reasons I didn't feel like I would be ready to be an online teacher, because I feel like you miss out on the connection. I know our text even talked about it this week in our chapters with Rice. However, some of the suggestions, I still don't feel like you're making that connection. You can make the learning more individualized. I definitely agree with that, but I feel like you're missing that interaction and connection that you would get in a classroom when you see them every day face to face. Another question was, how do you adjust and compensate for missing visual cues and body language from students? I use my visual senses often to pick up on students who are becoming frustrated, who are not understanding, that typically don't speak out. So I'm curious how you can compensate for that when you're not seeing them as they are struggling through those things. And I see that a lot, especially in my math courses. To go along with that, I also am curious how you can quickly assess and redirect students who are on the wrong path when they're working online. I had this discussion in a forum last week or the week before. When teaching math, you can see students who are doing something wrong in their work. As you're walking around, you can quickly scaffold them and help redirect them to the right way and fix whatever errors they were making. However, how do you do that online? You can't always see their work directly. You can't quickly fix it. It would be delayed. After they turn in an assignment, you then would have to go back and reteach it with them. You can't do it on the spot. So I'm curious how you make up for that and how you can do that better without having that delay. And finally, what collaborative math projects are available for online learners? A lot of collaboration I do in the classroom